Considering the sexy scenes he's read, totally 18 plus. Don't you know who you're talking to?
Daddy. Strength to hold in what is trying to get out. Okay. Temptation.
He lowers himself down between my legs and watches me closely as he pushes himself inside me. I cry out, moaning with pleasure, uncaring how feral and out of control I sound. Kyle moves slowly at first, kissing me so softly that I feel like I might explode. Then he pulls back and slams into me hard.
I shall save you all from spiders. I'm an expert trapper and releaser. That's so sweet that you release them. I murder them. Hello. Good evening. How's it going? Deb is still trying to catch up with the previous stream, so she'll be back Sunday, since you're not streaming Thursday. That is true. Good memory. And hi, Inside, aka Paige. How you doing? Yes, I will not be here Thursday. Taking a trip out of town. Gonna spend a couple days away. Should be a fun time. So yes, plenty of time to catch up with the day gone, you know? Made myself another delicious banana strawberry rum smoothie. Tis exquisite. Oh, I don't know if any of us are prepared for tonight. I don't know. Maybe we are. Maybe we're not. Doing okay. My internet is being really slow for some reason. Not sure what's up. We'll be back. Oh dear. Sorry to hear that. You know, I was in someone else's stream. I was in Funky's stream. And she was having issues too. Let me pull up my own stream and see if what I'm seeing is the same as what she, the problem she was having. Doesn't look like it. My stream seems to be doing okay for now. So that's good. Okay. Oldest noob, what's up, sir? I'm definitely prepared. Popsicles, ice pack, and ice water. Fantastic. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Deb. You're in the shadows, lurking. No worries. Good to see you. How's everyone's weekends been? I've had a great weekend. Today was especially great. I got to do some drumming this morning, which was fun. I got very sweaty because of that. They didn't turn on fans or any kind of cooling process until like an hour and a half into the practice, but it's fine. So I took a shower when I got home. I chilled out for a bit. Oh no, we went to my favorite donut place right after. Then we got home. Your Ethernet was unplugged. Whoops. Mine was my allergies. Sucks. But I've been playing Atlas. Okay. See, yeah, we got the donuts. Those were delicious. Came home, relaxed for a bit. Just kind of did our own thing for about half an hour. And then I went to a movie. Came home, made some dinner. And then hung out and funky stream for a little bit, and then here I am. So there you go. That was today. That was today. You had a very interesting, exciting, and relaxing weekend. Well, fantastic. I'm glad. I'm glad. Sounds delightful. Also, happy Father's Day. Thank you. It is Daddy's Day. That's right. Yeah. I adjusted the volume of the music because every so often I will listen back to one of my streams and see how everything sounds balance wise, music to voice, you know, that kind of thing. I adjusted the music volume slightly. I just want to make sure it's not too much. Granted, it may depend on the track that's playing, of course. I just don't want to make sure. I want to make sure that I don't overpower the music too much, that it's too distracting, but yet you can still hear it. Because I was finding, as I was listening back, that sometimes the music wasn't even something you could hear. It wasn't audible at all. So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, it was actually something you could hear. Otherwise, what is the point? Yes, happy Father's Day. Thank you. I have not touched the book. In fact, I have our next book sitting on top. You can't see this, obviously, but the next book we're going to read is sitting on top of our current book in order to make sure that I didn't peek ahead. Daddy. That's right. I did not want to peek ahead. Here's your puzzle for the evening, by the way. It was quiet. I decided to do a ship puzzle because our characters are currently on a ship. So I thought, hey, let's do. It's a model of a ship, of course, but I figured, you know, that would work. Author Jennifer, hi there, happy Daddy Day. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. How are you? Hope you're well. By the way, folks, if it wasn't clear yet, I'm trying to make sure it's crystal clear. Our author did warn me that the first chapter we read tonight is going to be a bit hot and heavy. So, just be prepared. Whatever that means for you, just do what you gotta do. You're good? Okay. Author's ready. But you already know what happens, so that kind of takes the wind out of your sail just a tiny bit. It's not that bad. You made it seem like it was that bad. So, I don't know. Although I think you have a different threshold. If you're used to books that have this kind of stuff in it, maybe it's not that bad. But if you're not used to this kind of stuff, then maybe it is. Maybe it is. Mr. Rhino, hey Atkinson, happy Father's Day to you. And to you, sir. Same to you. So yes, I don't have like a content warning at the top of my screen about the spiciness, but just be aware it's going to happen. I mean, it's happened every stream, but we don't normally start every stream like that. This one will. So, there you go. You became another godfather today. Well, that's fantastic. Congratulations. That's awesome, man. Good for you. That's it's kind of a cool responsibility, you know? Because you get a lot of the joy out of it without too much risk. It sounds terrible when I say it like that. But you're not like, you know, you're not in the house changing diapers. You know what I mean? So you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Okay. Just double checking my mic settings, which I should have done before, but I didn't, so that's on me. Let's see. Just double checking my sound files. Okay. Update that one. Okay, let's move that out of the way so I don't close it. Okay, good. Yeah, this whole book revolves around the sensual pleasures. It does. It does. And I think I can speak on behalf of everyone that has heard it so far, that no one is, you know, bummed out by that. I think everyone's okay with it. At least, no one's told me yet that they're not. My DMs are always open. In case, you know, you need to type out your notions or whatever. But, I need to find me in August. Yum. Yummy. I'm sure there's an August out there. There's an August out there for everyone. Just as there is probably a Jezebel for everybody. Okay? They're out there. You just gotta go find them. It's a good back crack. All right. Uh-oh. Excuse me. I got a 1-star review on this book once, and they said, I quote, "This erotic book has too much sex in it." Really? It's not that bad. I think I would be okay with either, actually. That one gave me a laugh. Yeah, I bet it did. Come on. I had, speaking of reviews, so someone got a hold of one of my short story books, and one of the stories was very like sci-fi based, and it talked about like this helicopter going into a secret base that's underneath water, basically. And the lady doing the review was like, "Come on, really? That's not even realistic at all." And then, I kid you not, a few movies later comes one of the Marvel movies. I think it's Civil War, I think. And the self-flying helicopter that Tony Stark is in goes underwater into a base. And I'm just like, I hope she watches that movie and then thinks back to my book. Take that. Oh, I came back to some spicy things. We haven't even started yet. Rhino, we're talking the too much is someone saying that this book we're reading was too much for them. But yeah, when it comes to reviews, I've learned to take them with a grain of salt, because one person's experience with anything around them in life can really make or break a review. And if they're just not open-minded enough to see what the person writing is trying to get across, then of course they're going to be like, this is dumb. Whatever. So, you know, also sci-fi bends reality. Yeah, that's the point. So apparently she didn't really understand the genre. Well, and that's it. And all my stories were different genres, you know? I just wanted to throw one that was a bit more sci-fi action paced than the others because variety. That was the whole point. Whatever. All right. So, as I mentioned, tonight's book, we're in part 2 of the book. We're on chapter 8, starting out tonight. And this chapter, or I should say, the chapter before, August and 1720 Jezebel, not the Jezebel that we saw in the beginning of the book, but his wife before she dies, or her life is taken. They've met. She's learning some stuff about herself, about her powers, etc. They're on this ship. It's a long journey. And, well, things are heating up between the two. They almost got caught right in the hallway, fooling around. And that's kind of where we left it. So, chapter 8 is going to start us off, well, right after that, basically. That's why that review cracked me up. She called it erotica. But then said, really? That's right, yes. So August needed to embrace, which is the whole blood-sucking things, to regain strength, which also gives the person being embraced much powerful, orgasmic nature stuff. And it was August, Jezebel, and somebody else, which is a first for the story. Normally it's just 2 people. This time it was 3. It was a quick embrace, but memorable. And right after that embrace, well, then the hallway thing happened, and now we're... I think we moved into August's cabin, his chambers. I think. Yeah. So let's get into it, shall we? And hot? Yes. Yes, very hot. Here we go. Normally we have a bit of a build up to this kind of scene, but we're just gonna jump right in. So we're on chapter 8 of the printed copy, !Awakening, if you would like to check out our author's about page, see what other books she has. Of the printed copy, we're on page 160. And as I said before, this is part 2. There are 3 parts. We're on part 2. And we're in chapter 8 of part 2. Here we go. All I could see was August's silhouette within the shadows of the room as he stepped closer to me. The space between us pulsing with a concentrated energy. The sound of our labored breath mingled together as he unlaced the ties of my corset with quick fingers, allowing my dress to slip slowly down, the fabric rustling as it fell to the floor. You are so beautiful. His words hovered against my neck as he pulled me tight against him. His hands on my skin were an arousing heat that set my whole body ablaze, and I slipped into the dizzying abyss of his touch. All that came out was a soft moan that filled his mouth as he drew me into the deep well of his appetite. My hands shook as I ran them up his chest, feeling for the buttons on his shirt. Moving to assist me, he shed the fabric in one fluid motion while he unbuttoned the waistband of his trousers. His longing teased against my skin as we collided together in the darkness. Make love to me, August. My voice came out in a strangled gasp. My body surged with desire as he suddenly grabbed my thighs and lifted me up into the strength of his arms. Backing me gently against the door, he slid himself inside me. I cried out as something bright and hot burst within. My legs wrapped around him tightly, fingers digging into his back, my nails raking across the length of his flesh as an overwhelming sensation of bliss spilled out from my center, obliterating my senses. Oh, Jezebel. His mouth was fiery and frantic against my skin as he held me up and began to move within, gripping my hips and plunging in slow and deep. Speaking my name as if he had claimed me for his own, the idea of being claimed by him brought me to such a high that I suddenly exploded, calling out to him in the dark. He grew still for a moment as I shuddered against him, lost to this ecstasy he had awakened within. "Do not stop," I moaned. "Do not ever stop." I was intoxicated by his breath on my skin, the feel of him which filled me so completely. Another wave of heat slammed into me as he began to move once more, deeper this time. His thrusts enfolded me in the most intense pleasure, cresting with such force that I writhed violently in his arms as he cried out, the beautiful rush of him spilling inside me as we both clung, trembling against each other. Well, thank you for the stream. Have a great night. Just kidding. There's just a small break in the story. I lay upon the sheets and watched August as he breathed life into the embers of the fire, illuminating the room in an ochre glow, which danced across my skin like liquid. My body had become a soft, supple animal.
Is it hot in here? Are you hot? I mean, you are hot. I mean...
I just added that one today. My body had become a soft, supple animal, languid and humming with a rich elation. August crossed the room to join me on the bed, running his hand along the delicate curve of my waist. God, you are so exquisite. His voice was a husky whisper as he held me within the hunger of his gaze. I sat up and pulled him to me, his muscles contracting as I slid my hand down his back and over to his thigh, my fingers tracing up the length of his desire, which lay ready for me once more. I want to savor you this time, Jezebel. He knelt on the floor beside me and brought his mouth to my breasts, his breath enticing my skin as his lips swept a teasing trail down my stomach and to my inner thighs. A bright spark ignited me as his tongue dipped into the hidden place within, drawing out my longing. I clutched his arms as a delicious surge of pleasure consumed me, and I arched my back, rocking desperately against him. More. I need more of you, I pleaded as my fingers reached up to tangle themselves in the strands of his hair. My insatiable hunger for him was like an aching thirst I had to quench. So impatient you are. August playfully growled against me, his lips stretching into a sensual smile as he moved above me, gripping my hands and gently pinning me to the bed. With a groan, he slipped himself inside me, diving so deep and slow that my eyes rolled back in abandonment as I lost myself in the powerful current between us. Jezebel. August's voice was a warm caress from far away, pulling me back to him. Look at me. His gaze was like fire, and it burned me with intensity as he plunged deeper, obliterating my senses and breaking down whatever was left of my walls. Exposed and shaking, I burst apart beneath him as the visceral energy of his release flowed into me once more, colliding up against mine in a beautiful, breathless dance. There's another break in the story. This one's a longer break. Probably because they needed a minute to breathe or something. Hi, Stump Mama's mama. Stump Mama's mama, you're gonna have to go back like 5 or 10 minutes and, well, you'll understand why. We became interwoven, the last few days slipping past us and merging with the lapping waves. My mind fell into a state of revere as I eagerly awaited the blush of evening when August would come to me like a fever dream, all hands, mouth, and urgency. He was something I had never felt before. While my love affair with Natasha had been sweet and delicate, like ripe fruit, being with August was profound and extreme. I craved him constantly. Another small break in the story. Moonlight bathed the cabin in silver shadows that fell upon our skin as we lay in bed together, the ship gently swaying beneath us. August rested his head on my chest, listening while I recounted my childhood with my parents before they were ripped from me. The bits and pieces of bittersweet memories which floated silently within a box I had kept locked until now. A summer's garden, my mother's fiery red hair glowing in the light, her hands streaked with wet earth, my own tiny hand cupping a seed, my father's smile, large and filled with life, laughter dancing in the depths of his brown eyes. Then, the time of darkness, which rushed in with bared teeth, accusations of heresy spreading like wildfire among the village. I played with the thick coils of his hair that fell upon me as I unleashed my past, until all that was left was a soft pause which filled the space between us. You have not spoken much of your family, August. What is their story? He sighed against me. My family's legacy is not the happiest of stories either. What do you want to know? He positioned himself on the bed so that he was looking at me. Well, I'm sure it had to have been happier than mine, I replied. He furrowed his brow, his eyes growing troubled. Not all of us are good people. Misery is a veiled creature that comes in many forms. What do you mean? My father. He was a weak man. He carried his anger around like a dagger and shield. August slowly ran his hand down my stomach, causing goosebumps to form along my skin. And my mother, she hid from herself. There was no love within my family. I was born an only child, but I left when I was 14, right before I began to shift. It was my uncle who took me in and taught me all that I know. As August spoke of his past, the pale light of the moon fell over his face, obscuring his eyes. Are they still alive, your family? Honestly, I do not know, for I have not spoken to my family since I was a young man, and my uncle, unfortunately, passed away many years ago, shipwrecked and lost at sea. His hand rose and rested against my cheek before absent-mindedly trailing down to my neck and placing his fingers upon my steady pulse. We may be immune to sickness and the quickening of time, but we are not immune to accidents. Another break in the story, a longer break this time. The day we reached Syria, the sun was hot against our skin. A salty breeze teased us as we stood out on the deck and felt the ship drop anchor. Welcome to Damascus, the city of ancient truth. August's touch was firm on my back as he led me down the plank, eliciting a giddy rush as my unsteady feet stepped onto solid ground for the first time in weeks. This is the oldest city in the world, Jezebel. His voice was soft and full of reverence. It is beautiful. I squinted against the glare of the bright blue water which lapped lazily against the shore. Palm trees scattered the hot white sand, and beyond me stood the ornate rounded domes with marbled columns of the city, laid out like an endless treasure among the desert. August's villa was nestled in the outskirts of the city. We traveled slowly by camel across the sands, the undulating sway of the animal lulling me into a trance. The sun began its descent, casting long shadows against the rust-colored, sun-baked hills that seemed to bend and ripple in the heat. We are here, August said, his voice cutting through the silence of the desert. I gazed out into the expanse of a sprawling courtyard. In the center stood a large fountain. Clear water flowed from the top and trickled into a melodic cascade down the mosaic tiles and into a deep, cerulean pool of blue. Trees and exotic flowers encompassed the space around us, enveloping my senses in the rich fragrance of hyacinth, cedar, and hibiscus. Welcome to my little desert oasis. August winked at me as his hands slipped to my waist and helped me dismount from the camel. A warm smile spilled across my face as I took in the lush surroundings, which beckoned me like a cool drink of water. How enchanting! I marveled at the ease of his lifestyle. While I had been living as a vagabond, bound to nothing, over 200 years of merchant trade had served him well. August wore the life of a wealthy man, with a humble poise that I found captivating. The door suddenly opened to a flurry of activity which spilled out around the courtyard. The villa's caretakers enthusiastically greeted us with a flourish and carefully whisked our belongings off the camels and into the house. August led me inside, behind the procession, and ushered me down a long hallway of carved stone. Our footsteps reverberated off the walls as cool air slipped around us in the dusky twilight. August's hand rested upon my back as he leaned in close to me. Let us get some rest. The gathering is tomorrow. Awakening my desire with nothing more than the silky whisper of his voice in my ear, he opened the door and quickly led me to a bed, in which we fell into like thirsty travelers. So transfixed we had become with each other that it wasn't until the faint light of morning crept across the walls, splashing us with its golden radiance, did we surrender ourselves to sleep. Wow, August and Jezebel. Quite thirsty, aren't they? I do say. The heat of the afternoon sun found my skin, coiling its warmth across the sheets. I turned to find the space next to me empty. Rising from the bed, I threw on a robe and wandered down the long hallway, the white marbled floor cold against my bare feet. I stepped out into the brightness of the courtyard, a humid breeze sweeping across my skin as I sat down upon the smooth tile of the fountain. Dipping my fingers into the cool spray of the water, I ran the droplets down my arms, awakening my senses. I don't think they get much sleep. Yeah, I don't think so either. From behind me, August pressed his lips against my neck. You are awake. I looked up as the shimmering azure of the sky bathed him in a halo, exposing the tenderness of his beauty, which made my heart swell with longing. Excuse me. Why did you not wake me sooner? He smiled, his eyes flashing as he sat beside me. You looked far too exquisite laying there amongst the sheets to rouse. His fingers reached out to brush away a strand of my hair. We are to leave for the gathering in an hour. Small break in the story. When we arrived at the city of Damascus, the sun had sunk her sultry rays beneath the dunes, bathing the city in a warm pink blaze. As we traveled through the marketplace, I took in the rich fragrance of bergamot. I almost said something else there. That was strange. Cinnamon and myrrh. The local merchants moved hastily around our camels, packing up their wares for the day. Cotton and silks folded into woven baskets. The vibrant, jewel-toned robes they wore rippled against them in the cooling breeze. We descended a rocky slope to the edge of the city, where a large domed temple ascended over us, flanked by guardians at either side of the entrance, their dark clothes billowing out around them, matching the dusk of the sky. We dismounted as they bowed low to us, addressing August in their throaty Arabic tongue. You're gonna make me speak Arabic? Is that what's going on here? Thank you so much. Let's give this a shot, shall we? Masa al-Khir Hakim. No, Al-Kahar? I don't know how to say that. Hopefully I sort of got it right. Anyway, moving on. Just wing it? I did. I really did. I might as well have been blindfolded. You did great? Okay, you're very kind. He nodded wordlessly to them and took my hand, walking through the substantial double doors, each adorned with intricate designs upon the ebony wood, as we became enclosed in a dimly lit silence. The aroma of earth and stone permeated around me. It was the scent of time, and an ancient power that pulled at my core. August stopped at a red-painted door and turned to me. His eyes met mine with a heavy, meaningful intensity. Are you ready, Jezebel? And that ends chapter 8. So there you go. That is the question. Is Jezebel ready? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Or maybe she doesn't have a choice. Maybe she just has to be ready. Yowza indeed. I almost knocked my mouse onto the floor. While we're on a chapter break, I'm going to do a couple of shout-outs because I don't think my mods are here right now. I need to spell this correctly.
Seriously? Yep.
No, that won't
It's
stop
okay.
me from finding the treasure.
If you just want to drop anchor, I'll maintain the ship here.
You sure? We're
Yeah, we
awful
don't-
close.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
The closer you are to danger, the farther you are from harm. Right? That's
Yeah.
Fuck! Oh, damn it.
That was funny.
Sleep as a man. Goodbye, all.
Back when the oldest Noom did reading
Vampire, please
streams.
don't eat me. Don't worry, Rip Juice World 944.
Amlas, hey there.
I just like to read. But I have to stop there because I'm exhausted. Ooh. Thank you for watching. Please hit
You love it when they say fuck. Happy Father's Day to all fathers. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's been some good clips I've gotten of Inside Again, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of them show up in streams. And that's all I'm going to say. Unless she's deleted them already, but I don't think she has. Because when you're that new to streaming, you need all the clips you can get. So I'm thinking they're still there. I think so. Nope. Yes, I do. See? Yep. You know, why don't we do another one just to see? Just to see what we get.
There's better reasons to scream into a pillow, but okay.
Yeah, like getting railed. Oh.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. I will, thank you. Killa's here. What's up? So, Amlas and Killa, you're gonna want to watch the beginning of the stream because, well, Chapter 8 started out a bit warm. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll let you figure out the rest. Okay. Yeah, I came in at the steamy part of the story. I did wait for a break before I did my alert. Wise, very wise. You don't want to interrupt that stuff. You know, normal story stuff, sure, not a problem. But that moment, no. All right. Well, on that note, let's get into chapter 9, shall we? Steamy, interesting. Yes, yes. We are on page 167 of our printed copy. Part 2, chapter 9. Let's go. I nodded as August leaned down and planted a deep, lingering kiss upon my lips. Go take a seat. I will find you later. Opening the door to a large room filled with silent, seated figures, he moved from my side and walked up the marble aisle, his footsteps echoing against the stone. Everyone began to move like rippling water, and a reverberating tone rang out in greeting. Hundreds of voices speaking as one. As I drifted toward the back, I watched his presence take up the whole room, resembling some beautiful godlike creature. I knew he was powerful, but I had no idea he was praised like this. Kneeling upon the floor, I joined the others. Welcome to the gathering of truth holders, he began, his voice rich and commanding amongst the hushed crowd. Today, we gather as one family. The gentle resonance of everyone's breath was like the lulling tide of the ocean. My eyes took in the motifs that were ornately carved into the walls and trailed their way up to the high dome ceiling above me. The immense space made me feel minute and reverent. We are here to celebrate the incarnate pattern of life, to pay homage to the connections that fulfill us, and to awaken a deeper connection within ourselves, the one that binds us all to each other. I sat quietly listening to him speak. I had never seen this side of him before, and it filled me with wonder. His words brushed across the room with a gentle, unpretentious authority, and my affection for him swelled. I felt so blessed to have found this man, to lay beside all his wisdom while he cried out for me in the profound richness of our mutual desire. My thoughts sent a hum of elation to course through me as his eyes sought out mine, locking on with an intensity that produced a rush of warmth throughout my body. He continued as if he were speaking directly to me. There is such magnificent beauty to be found within ourselves and others, within the thread that unites all existence. Let this gathering reflect your intention to honor this connection, to honor your own power, and to hold in reverence the vastness of truth that life sustains for us. He motioned to the group, and they rose like a gentle wave. Enjoy, he said, as a soft murmur filled the room. Two doors at the far end of the great hall opened with a flourish, leading out to a darkened passageway lined with candles. The press of bodies was comforting as I took in the crowd, buoyed by the radiant faces of my people, their energy hovering around me like a spark of fire. Following the stream of movement into the hallway, I could hear the soft droning notes of a sitar in the distance. The smoky aroma of incense clung in the air, hints of sandalwood filling my senses as I came into an expansive atrium. Glass lined the walls and rounded ceiling, and I looked up to find the inky night of the sky sprinkled with stars. Are you enjoying yourself? August ran his hand along my back, eliciting a shiver upon my skin. Yes. I had no idea you were worshipped like that. He chuckled. No, it's not me they worship. It is what I provide for them. My speech was just a formality, a ringing of the bell, so to speak. When I started this gathering, we were all isolated, scattered across the world. Many of us lost like you were. He lifted my chin, tenderly grazing my cheek with his thumb. I wanted to bring us all together, to help awaken and strengthen our individual power, and to provide a sense of home for us all. His eyes enveloped me as he took my hand in his. Come, there are others I would like for you to meet. August led me over to a group standing behind us. Jezebel, please meet some of my very close allies. Welcome, Jezebel. A tall woman reached out and clasped her hand in mine. I'm Clyda. She had an elegant, haunting beauty to her. Long, ebony black hair against pale skin. And this is my friend Sasha and Elias. She motioned toward the two others, who regarded me with warm, open smiles. August's hand fell to my waist, leaning in close. Please excuse me for a moment. He spoke before disappearing into the crowd, leaving me standing there, hesitant and unsure of what to do. My solitude, like a caged animal, suddenly thrust into the wild. Is this your first gathering? Elias addressed me first, his thick dark beard accentuating the warmth of his brown eyes, the color of rich cocoa. I nodded. Yes, I had no idea all this existed for me until now. So, did you come here with August? Sasha asked. Her coiled chestnut hair bounced against her face in ringlets as she regarded me with a look of indistinct provocation. Her full lips pursed, gauging me. I did. I met him in Paris. Oh. How nice. Sasha gave me a faint smile, like a covetous cat. There's always one jealous person in the group, isn't there? Clyda chuckled next to me. Oh, see, here we go. Oh, don't be jealous, Sasha. It is so unattractive. You had your turn with him. Ignoring the look Sasha shot her, Clyda leaned in close, the musky scent of her amber coiling around me as her black hair brushed softly against my cheek. I take it you must be his newest lover? Her words unnerved me. While I knew August had many lovers, as he always stressed the importance of erotic energy, I was not prepared to meet one of them standing before me. I nodded tensely as I looked around the room, suddenly feeling exposed and a bit cheapened as a hesitant question washed over me. Could August be off with someone right now? Have I only been his latest enjoyment, to be disposed of when something more intriguing comes along? I realized we never had the discussion of exclusivity. Clyda's hand fell on my arm as she smiled down at me warmly. Relax. August is not like that. Like what? I asked, trying to stifle my discomfort from the sudden knowledge that she had slipped into my thoughts. He never strays from the bond until that bond has run its course. You need not worry, Jezebel. He will remain faithful to your connection. A sense of relief washed over me, and I shook my head. Honestly, all of this has been a little overwhelming for me. I have been a drifter all my life. When August found me, I did not expect to go any further than his teachings. Jezebel. Clyda pulled me into her gaze. The rich warmth of her amber eyes caused the rest of the room to fall away. There is something very special about you.
I cannot put my finger on it, but I can feel it, like a magnetic field. She fluttered her hands around me, smiling with a silky softness. It is no surprise August is drawn to you. The way he looks at you. Well. She trailed off, turning to Sasha. Have you ever been looked at that way by him, Sasha? No, I have not. Sasha remained stone-faced, clearly not amused by Clyda's goading. Clyda placed her warm hand on the small of my back. Jezebel, welcome. We are deeply honored to have you join our fold. So there's a bit of insight. Not shocking, but yet interesting. Small break in the story as well, which is why I took that moment. Wandering through the halls, I tasted the lavish food and wine while various musicians played throughout the rooms. The deep, melodious stringed resonance of the oud. Okay, Jennifer. I need your help. O-U-D. Is that like a early guitar or flute or something? Because whatever it was enticing my senses, aka Jezebel's. What is an oud? Or oud? I don't even know how to say it. It's like a guitar? Perfect. Wonderful. We'll just go with... It's like a lute. Oud. 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 It's kind of fun to say, isn't it? Oud. Moving on. I still had not found August as the night deepened and the energy of the gathering slowly began to shift around me. Bodies pressed closer together, lips became entangled, and a carnal hush filled the rooms. Everywhere I looked, candlelight danced upon bare skin as couples entwined against each other. I slipped past a pair in the throes of an orgasm. The woman's eyes locked onto mine, almost beckoning me to join her as she cried out in ecstasy. The visual thrill of this unrestrained lust around me, and I ached for August's touch as I searched for the tall, dark figure of him among the crowd. Oh, here we go with more non-English. A desiderio celebrationem. August's breath in my ear caused a sudden and delicious spark of pleasure to run through me. The celebration of desire. I leaned my back against his chest as his hands slid down my body, awakening me. I have been looking for you, Jezebel. And I you. I sighed as the feel of him wrapped me in warmth. You move with such sensuality. It hypnotizes me. His lips languidly traced my collarbone, his words falling upon my skin like a sensual whisper. You hypnotize me, August. My breath came out in a shudder. I closed my eyes. The chorus of soft moans surrounded me as I fell into the spell of the room, which was so erotically charged it crackled like an electrical current. His hands found their way to the ties of my dress. With one hand, he slowly pulled the fabric down and slipped his fingers into me, with the other tenderly drawing circles against my sex. Desire washed over me, my legs buckling beneath the weight of my eagerness. August's breath was a hungry whisper on my skin as he walked me forward and pressed my body against a marble column. My hands grasped the smooth stone, cool against the heat of my skin. From behind, I heard the rustle of his clothes as he shed them upon the floor and teased me with his length, sliding himself slowly inside and then pulling out. I hungrily pushed myself against him as a sharp, frantic moan escaped from my mouth, intermingling with the unrestrained cries around me. As my pleasure mounted within, a sudden sensation of tiny needles ran across my limbs, prickling my skin. A shrill tone filled my ears, followed by an overwhelming rush of dizziness that cascaded through me, violently lifting me from my body as my vision grew fuzzy, then faded to a silent darkness. Well, that's interesting. There's a small break in the story here, and I wonder what that was. I found myself standing in a vast open field. Grass tickled my bare feet, and I ached in the places where August had been inside only moments before. But he was no longer with me. I was alone. I waited for the fear and confusion to wash over me, but there was none. All I felt within was a calmness and a deep sense of understanding, for I knew what was happening. I had traveled, but to where, I did not know. And that is chapter 9. So, in basically a massive orgy, she traveled. Not sure if that's a good thing or the most ill-timed travel ever. Hard to say. I guess it's going to depend on what happens when she comes back. Chapter 10, page 172. A warm, gentle breeze moved around me. My hands trailed down and caught loose fabric, touching the soft material draped over my body. It was almost translucent, and it shimmered against my fingers, like the gossamer wings of a butterfly. I stood in a field, encircled by dense forest. The sky above me reminiscent of a dream, a rich purple, the color of amethyst. A flock of birds alighted from the trees, startling the stillness. My feet were soundless as I glided along the ground, almost as if I were floating. As I drew near to the center of the field, I could make out a soft silhouette of a young woman sitting amongst the waving grass. Okay, so, just going to take a moment here. I'm guessing that this is Jezebel meeting Jezebel. Well, she wasn't actually Jezebel at the time, but if we were to think back to part 1, she gave her the name Jezebel. I'm thinking that this is that meeting. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. No spoilers, please, Jennifer. All will be revealed soon enough. Hello, I called out to her. She turned around, her piercing amber eyes meeting mine. A heavy blanket of sadness swam within her depths. Where did you come from? She asked, standing up. Dark curls cascaded down her back, her mouth pulled into a tight frown. She wore her clothing in an unusual style, like that of a man's, with coarse blue pants and a shirt of strange bright patterns. A place far from here. I smiled warmly at her. I am sorry if I disturbed you. She shook her head, staring up at the purple sky. You didn't. I think I was waiting for someone. I sat down upon the grass, motioning for her to join me. She looked to be no older than 15. The flush of youth bloomed radiantly upon her skin, but she carried the weight of life as if she were someone much older than her years. What is your name? I asked. Sarah. She slowly sat beside me. It's a pleasure to meet you, Sarah. My name is Jezebel. I did not know why I was here, or who this girl was, but I was compelled to reach out to her, for her sorrow was palpable, and it hovered in the air between us. I placed my hand gently upon her knee. What is it that troubles you? Words tumbled from Sarah's mouth like a river as she spoke to me of her pain and loneliness, the sudden loss of her family, and the thick scars that traversed her thighs like a road map. And I, in turn, revealed my own pain of childhood, and the isolation that had followed me around like a hungry animal, clawing at my insides. It's so terrible at the foster center I'm at. Sarah's fingers brushed across her thighs, silently tracing the trauma that lay hidden beneath. The other day, some girls cornered me in the shower, calling me a freak, and saying that no one would ever want to touch me. And now, apparently, that's my new name in the center. Sarah balled her hands into fists, her jaw tightly clenched, as tears flowed down her cheeks. I need to get out of that place. And you will, I said, gently placing my hand on hers, feeling her body relax against my touch. You just have to remember that your circumstance is only temporary, and one day soon you'll be given your wings, and you will fly. Sarah curled her knees tightly up against her chest, rocking slowly. I just miss them so much. I know you do, and you always will. Not a day goes by that I do not think of my family, but in time, it will not hurt as much. I looked up at the sky and noticed the purple fading to a soft pink. We each have a story, Sarah. One that we carry within our compartment of pain. But hidden beneath the sorrow lies such raw beauty. One day, when you begin to unravel your own story, you will see this, and you will understand why these trials have happened to you. Or were handed to you, sorry. Sarah moved to swipe away her tears, looking into my eyes. But I am so alone. I took her hands in mine, feeling a connection that seemed to go far beyond our shared sorrow. A tethered cord pulled at me, and words spilled from my lips, as if plucked from the depths of a knowledge undiscovered until now. As long as you honor yourself, every broken part, and hold it with tenderness, you will never truly be alone. Remember that. For a heart that bleeds also has a profound ability to transform into something greater than you could ever imagine. I wanted to help her, to give her something she could carry with her until the very end of her days, when I suddenly felt the tingle upon my skin, and somehow intrinsically knew that My moment with her was ending. I believe that it is time for me to go, Sarah. Please don't go, she pleaded, her eyes growing wide. The ringing in my ears grew louder. I must. I stood up, a rush washing over my body. Sarah, I gripped her arms. I want to give you something. Something that will provide you strength and a compass in life. Like some divine tug guiding my words, my name spilled out of me. My own mother blessed this name when she gave it to me. She had the power of intention. This name is very sacred, for it represents the ability to push past boundaries and live without fear. I now want to give this power to you. I want you to take my name. Jezebel? Yes. My vision began to ripple and blur around me before I faded away from her completely and tumbled back into the darkness. So I was right. There's a small break in the story. This was the moment that Jezebel met Sarah. I'm glad we got to see that moment, because that was something I was hoping to learn about later. Jezebel. Jezebel. I heard August's anxious voice in my ear, his hands stroking my hair. The feel of a cool, wet cloth against my forehead as my eyelids fluttered open. I was laying on a couch with a blanket wrapped around me. August's face came into focus, his eyes full of worry, and something else I had never seen in him before. A faint trace of fear. What happened? He asked me. I tried to sit up, but my body betrayed me. My limbs lay weak and trembling. August gathered me into his arms, cradling me like a small child. You went someplace, didn't you, Jezebel? I could only nod. My tongue felt thick in my mouth. August held me tight against his chest as he rushed me through the halls of the temple, past bodies consumed within the music of their erotic dance, and out into the cool night air. Stars bathed us in a blue light as August helped me up onto one of the camels that stood harnessed and waiting for us. Hitching the other one to the saddle, he slid up behind me, enfolding his arms around my waist. With a click of his tongue, he guided the camels into a fast trot as we advanced across the desert. We have another small break in the story here. August to the rescue, always knowing what to do. What a guy. What a dude. Thank you, Greeky. When we arrived back at the villa, my strength had returned, and I was able to walk again. I sat up on the bed in the wavering candlelight while August fussed around me, his eyes full of concern as he gently arranged me against the pillows. I was unaccustomed to seeing him in this state. He always had a fluid composure to him, but tonight he looked fragile. How do you feel? He asked. Better. I smiled and reached out to pull him close to me, breathing in his familiar scent of earth and pine. His arms wrapped around me as my body habitually responded to the proximity of him. I'm sorry, I said as I drew lazy circles along his back. We never got to finish what we started at the gathering. August pulled away from me, shaking his head as his fingers nervously slid through his hair. Reaching out, I ran my hand across his brow. I frightened you, didn't I? Yes, Jezebel. You did. Apprehension pooled in his eyes. You were gone. Your eyes were open, but nothing was there. It was as if the essence of you was no longer in your body. You went completely limp, with barely a beating heart. His voice shifted to a whisper. I thought I had lost you. What happened? I traveled somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where, but it was as if I was in somebody else's dream. I was in a beautiful field surrounded by a forest, and there was a young girl in a meadow. August sat up upon the bed next to me. And what was the sensation you had while traveling? I was calm, and I felt very drawn to this girl, as if I were meant to be there, to help her somehow. I took a deep breath, my palms open upon my lap, as if invisible offerings lay within them. I wanted to give her a strength that would carry her forward in life. So, I gave her my name. August nodded, his face filled with marble. This is fascinating, and completely new territory, he said as he got up from the bed and began to pace the room, energy radiating off him like electricity. Though I suppose it is possible, I have never heard of one having the ability to travel through dimensions and into dreams before, until now. He stopped pacing and stared at me. A Desertio Celebrationem. It is a very powerful ceremony that takes place among the gathering. It allows one to harness vast amounts of energy through erotic transference. I believe this erotic energy most likely was what triggered your travel. It could have been, I said, smiling up at him seductively. You definitely bring it out of me. August suddenly chuckled, a playful smile on his face. You know, this could potentially put a hindrance on our love life. I got up from the bed and pulled him close to me, trailing my fingers down his chest. Nothing can put a hindrance on the way you make me feel, August. His eyes fixed me with a look of reverence. You must find a way to harness this power. I just wish I had more to offer you in terms of guidance. My hands reached up to unbutton his shirt. Well, I suppose this would be an unknown road we will travel together. I suppose it will be. Pulling him down upon the bed, we shed our clothes, curling ourselves around each other. My experience at the gathering had left me exhausted, and I drifted into a haze as August held me. The feel of his skin against mine, and the smooth rhythm of his heart pulsing in my ear, lulled me into a state of surrender. Enveloped within the safety of his arms, I sunk into dreams. There's a small break here in the story. Early morning light gathered low in the sky as I awoke. August lay beside me sleeping, his hair fanned across the pillow, the shadows of dawn flickering against his bronze skin. My fingers delicately traced the curve of his lips, awakening him. You are so beautiful, I breathed. The deep burn of his gaze penetrated me as he pulled me into his arms. Love is a mirror, Jezebel. The word love had always been something intangible and hard for me to define until now. My heart swelled as I ran my hands through his hair, kissing the tender skin below his jawbone. August let out a slow breath, gripping my back. "Oh, what you do to me," he murmured. I rose and trailed my lips down his chest to where I found him, trembling and erect under the sheets. Longing to worship him with a reckless abandon, I took him deep into my mouth. He shuddered beneath me, a loud groan rushing out of him as my tongue danced against his desire. August gripped my shoulders, pulling me up to meet his gaze, which was wild and full of heat. "I need you." "How bad do you need me?" I asked in a sultry whisper as I slid myself on top of him and teased the slickness of my sex against his length. "So bad it consumes me, Jezebel." Grabbing me with a sudden intensity, August rolled me onto my back and thrust himself inside. A deep, primal moan spilled from my lips as I succumbed to the ecstasy of him, and an emotion so sharp washed over me with a force I could barely define. I had spent my entire life living on the precipice of myself, running from my own loss, and August was like coming home to a place I never wanted to leave. I felt whole for the first time, and the gravity of this hit me like a tidal wave, causing tears long overdue to spring from within. I openly wept against him, overcome by the strong current of passion that he so effortlessly pulled from me. August caught my tears with his fingertips, his mouth engulfing mine in a heavy kiss that spoke of something sacred, tender, and mutual. Our energy collided in a slow but feverish rhythm as we lost ourselves, spiraling together into the depths. "August?" We lay against the sheets, skin slick with heat. I leaned over him and coiled my fingers into his tangled hair. "I never thought anyone could make me feel this way." "Me neither." Reaching for me, he grasped my face tenderly in his hands. "I love you, Jezebel." Tears trembled in his eyes, causing the delicate strands of my heart to unravel. "Do you know how terrified I was when I felt you leave your body, not knowing if you were going to return to me? No longer do I care to imagine a life without you in it." He moved my hand to where his heart lay, beating stridently within his chest. His voice was a whisper as his eyes burned into me with a fierce passion that stilled my breath. "Nobody has ever moved me the way you do. I have spent hundreds of years searching for a connection like this. I want you here beside me always. I want you to be my wife." The salt of my tears slipped down my cheeks once more, overcome with the power of his confession, so inherently parallel to my own. I wrapped my arms around him, my breath in his ear. "There's nothing I want more in this world than to be your wife, August." And that is chapter 10. Well then. Is everybody still with me? Is everybody doing okay? I hope so. Because boy, this story It is fantastic. Kay says, oh my. Kilobyte says, hi. Yes. Yep. Jennifer, that was amazing, girl. You have a gift. She does. She does. Wait, what is going on here? Oh. Nothing important. It's fine. Just thought I had a message, but I don't. Good stuff. I am going to take 60 seconds or so to get up out of my chair so I can stretch, and then we'll be right back to continue on with chapter 11, page 179. Can't believe we're this far into the book. But here we are. So give me just a moment, and I will be right back. Make sure you had a chance to get yourself back comfortably and all that good stuff. Sorry, smack the microphone. It's fun being a pantser. I don't know what that means. Or at least a term that I haven't been familiar with. It's fun being a pantser. Like you like wearing pants? Is that what you're saying? There are plotters and pantsers. Okay. I never know what's going to happen before I write it. It's kind of fun that way sometimes. I mean, sometimes, yes, there are moments where you're like, okay, I need to make sure this happens, and I need to make sure this kind of dialogue is there. But everything else that happens around that kind of makes those moments what they are, you know, that's usually just kind of, let's feel it out, you know? Plotters plot out the story, pantsers fly by the seat of their pants. Absolutely. Hence the name. So if you suddenly change from a pantser to a plotter, does that make you a de-pantser? Okay, that was a terrible dad joke, but just ignore that. Just ignore that. I guess it does. Well, I hope you never get de-pantsed, if you know what I'm saying. All right. It's the day for dad jokes. Every day is a good day for dad jokes, Stepmom's mama. Come on now. Every day. All right. Time is it? 8:30? Cool. Plenty of time. Chapter 11, page 179. I'm out of my delicious smoothie, so I'm back to just good old water, so that's fun. But I've got it close by. I'm ready to go. In fact, I keep having this annoying tickle on my throat. You have to get another popsicle? Yep, heating up, I'm sure. It's supposed to be like super hot tomorrow, I think. But let me double check actually. Well, it's not too bad. It's a high of 88. I mean, it's still hot, but I might need to get some tea in me tomorrow just to soothe the throat a little bit. This dumb tickle, you know? Anyway, getting off topic. Chapter 11. Here we go. We never returned to France. Instead, we traveled further east into India, a rich land of spices and color. My heart was like a wide open ocean, churning with euphoria. And I dove headfirst into the endless depths of this new life we were forging together. Standing on the banks of the sacred Triveni Sangam, we took in the confluence of 3 rivers that joined as one. Wooden fishing boats drifted by against the backdrop of the setting sun, while bathers in the river, obscured in shadows, purified themselves. This river is holy. August entwined his fingers with mine. It represents the 3 points of life: the past, the present, and the future. When the 3 rivers connect, they become one. He looked at me with soft adoration in his eyes. This is what I believe marriage to be, Jezebel. The joining of what we carry with us, who we are, and what we will become together. I leaned against him, taking in the colors of the sunset, streaks of red and pink that merged and rippled through the current of the river. Then, let us have the marriage ceremony here. The ceremony of marriage would consist of an embrace between the 2 of us. August had explained to me the sacredness of exchanging blood. How in doing so we would be linked through the intrinsic flow of energy, our spirits bound together as one. I had expressed concerns about my traveling during the ceremony, knowing how intense an embrace could be, but August reassured me that I must never deny the opportunity to explore my power, that I must always remain open and available when my gift presented itself. small break. A little bit of time moving on. We walked along the marketplace of Allahabad. Allahabad. Nailing it with non-English tonight. Just nailing it. Past the spice souks with their aromatic beckoning trail of curry. I do love curry. Cinnamon and clove intermingling with the opulent scents of frankincense, jasmine, and musk, which hung in the thick, humid air around us. We were searching for a man named Mahatma, a truth holder who lived in the city, known to officiate the unions between our kind. We came to a red door, nestled between two large buildings within the marketplace. August rapped upon the entry in a series of sharp knocks. There was a pause, and then the door swung open to reveal a small man in a robe, spectacles perched low upon his nose. Namaste. He bowed to us. I have been expecting you. He turned to August, placing his hand softly on his arm. De Sanguine, it is such a great honor to meet you at last. He shuffled down a long, dark hallway, sweeping his arm out in a motion for us to follow. Mahatma seated himself at his desk. Large engraved statues loomed above him on a tall wooden shelf. Vishnu, Ganesh, and Shiva looking down at us with painted tranquility. Yes, Mahatma. August began sliding his arm around me. We wish to have the ceremony at the banks of the Triveni Sangam. Ah, yes. The Triveni Sangam, a very sacred place that is. Mahatma smiled, his hands resting in a fold of prayer as he spoke. I have officiated many ceremonies among our kind, but never have I had the honor of performing one here. There, I mean. Mahatma rose from his seat and crossed the room to where we stood. Such a privilege this will be for me, for there is such divine radiance between you two. Placing a gentle hand upon my shoulder, Mahatma drew me into the depths of his warm brown eyes. And you, my dear, I see all the many people you will touch with your gift. Truth-seer indeed. Another break in the story. This one is a longer break. On the evening of the ceremony, I draped myself in silk, the color of red wine. The fabric moved against my skin, fluid and soft like a sensual caress. I had shed the restrictive garments of the European fashion I was accustomed to, and delighted in the new feel of my body, loose and free within the flowing cloth. I stared at myself in the mirror, my green eyes reflecting the myriad of exhilarated emotions that swirled inside me. Tonight, I would be uniting myself with August. The threads that connected us would be forever bound. The thought of spending the rest of our years together brought me to a profound state of elation. Years which stretched before my mind like the thick pages of a book, with all the beautiful possibilities and rich secrets of our story tucked away within the whisperings of ink. Trembling with anticipation, I proceeded.
That tasted purple.
It's a purple. Hi, purple. Trembling with anticipation, I proceeded down the path to where August awaited me at River's Edge. The night sky flickered above me as the hushed chorus of crickets filled the balmy air. As I drew close to the river, the soft glow of hundreds of candles illuminated the shore in a large ring. In the center of the circle stood August. My breath caught in my throat as I stepped over the flames and joined him with the flickers of fire. He moved close to me, clasping his hands tightly in mine. The shadows of the light cast a shimmered reflection upon his skin, bathing his eyes in an ochre glow as he gazed at me with adoration. "You look so magnificent, Jezebel." Mahatma stepped forward from the darkness in a flowing gold robe that trailed across the sand, joining us within the circle. For such a small man, the energy that flowed from him was exceedingly large and commanding. But his presence radiated warmth and an ancient wisdom which he carried with a humble poise. "I am here to witness the union between two souls. No longer shall you walk alone, for it is your love that unites, illuminates, and sanctifies this powerful journey of existence. Together you will transcend the fragmented pieces of yourselves, for when something is shared, it becomes whole once more. And where there is love, there is life." Mahatma spoke with a measured tone of reverence as I lost myself in the moment. In the feel of August's hands in mine, his eyes gazing at me with so much devotion, it caused warm tears to slip down my face in a trail of joy I surrounded myself to completely. "You are no longer separate. You have become one. You may now embrace." Mahatma quietly stepped back into the shadows, leaving us alone within the soft light of the flames that danced between us. August lowered me onto the sand. His lips brushed away my tears and slipped down to my mouth. I encircled my arms around him as the drug of his kiss pulled me into a state of heightened desire. His urgency pressed against me as my hands reached under his shirt, connecting with the warmth of his skin. Releasing his mouth from mine, August smoothed my hair back with the palm of his hand, his eyes ablaze. "Would you like to go first?" I nodded and rolled onto him, straddling his waist while I ran my lips down his neck, teasing him with my tongue. He drew in a sharp breath as my teeth lightly grazed over his skin. "Are you ready for me?" August pulled me tight against him, his voice husky as he moaned into my ear. "Yes, my love. I am always ready for you." A tremendous rush spilled into me as I sunk my teeth into him. August shuddered and cried out beneath me, his hands gripping my back as the essence of him flowed through my veins. I felt everything. His fears, his strengths, his love for me. It was a euphony of his emotions and thoughts, all vibrantly pouring into my body. Did I say euphony? Euphony, jeepers. I can read. I released him with a gasp, my head spinning with a blissful high. August's eyes locked onto mine with a simmering passion as he pulled me against him and kissed me deeply. "You will always be able to feel me now." His voice filtered into my thoughts like liquid, delicately touching the spaces inside my mind as he ran his hands down the silk of my dress and found my center, wet and throbbing against his fingers. "Oh, God, you are so glorious," he moaned upon my neck. "The places you take me Jezebel. His touch sent ripples of pleasure that slammed into me, and I leaned my head back and gasped. The night sky swirling above, millions of stars dying and being born before my eyes. And now, I want to feel you. August spoke with a whisper, his teeth sharp against me. Are you ready for me? Yes, I moaned, closing my eyes and awaiting the sweet gift of his bite. An overwhelming explosion of euphoria overcame me as he drew me into his embrace. It was unlike any pleasure I had ever experienced before. A continuous cascade of ecstasy so acute and eviscerating it shattered me. My hands clawed frantically at his back, and I cried out until there seemed to be nothing left but trembling fragments of myself laid out upon the earth. August slowly released himself from me, intertwining our fingers tightly amongst the sand. So, this is what an embrace feels like. My words came out breathless as I gradually returned to myself, gravity pulling me back down into my body with its solid, predictable weight. I smiled up at him languorously as the warmth of my thoughts slipped around his. One could go mad. Yes. August ran his fingers down the curve of my lips. Though it is different for everyone. This is what an embrace feels like for us. His mouth hovered against my ear. Divine madness. And that takes us to the end of chapter 11. They're married. Can you imagine if all marriages were like that? Or, I should say, the weddings were like that. Holy buckets. Do you? Yes. Do you? Yes. You may now embrace. My. Good stuff. What chapter did we start on? 8, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure it was chapter 8 that we started. We have read some really good stuff in only 4 chapters. Oh boy. And we're not done yet. Oh, we are not done yet. My title still says D2. Oh my goodness. This is why. Yep, the category definitely still says. Okay, let's go ahead and update that. Thank you, Purple. Or at least I'm trying to. It's spinning. This is why they pay me the big bucks? Absolutely. Oh, that's interesting. This must be new for OBS, but when I type in a category, it now tells me like how many people are viewing, how many followers for the category itself, that kind of thing. Interesting. All right, it is updated. Thank you. This is definitely not Division 2. If it were, more people would probably play it. Right click to embrace. left click to kiss. That would be hilarious. Alright. Now that that's updated, we'll officially be reading now. Before, we were just pretending to read. But now it's real. I wonder how many people have stopped by thinking they're getting pew-pews and get spicy instead. You know? I guess we'll never know. No one said anything, so... Everyone's probably too busy listening and stuff instead of going, oh, this isn't Division 2. It's been 2 hours? It has, yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's kind of hilarious. So I'm just clearing out some messages here real quick. Getting those out of the way. Okay. All right. Chapter 12 starts us out on page 184. Holy moly. Sorry. What? You're late again? What are you talking about? I'm lost. You lost me. Delayed response to the chapter. Oh, no, it's okay. 'Tis okay. I'm sure you were occupied. Right, so just as a reminder, we're in part 2, chapter 12. Because if I were to say just chapter 12, page 184, without referencing part 2, it would make the other chapters seem really long. But that is not the case. All right. Here we go. I awoke to find dawn creeping over the Trevini Sangam. Everything lay silent around me, except for the river which lazily lapped itself against the shore. A cool breeze drifted in from the water, dispelling the humidity in the air. I rose from the bed we had made upon the sand and saw August with his back toward me, standing in the river with his white garments from the night before shed upon the bank. He was so beautiful with the early morning rays falling on his skin like honey. I stood and slipped off my dress, letting it fall onto the sand in a silken puddle as I stepped into the river and wrapped my arms around him from behind. The coolness of the water tugged at my skin as August drew his arms around mine. We stood there, watching the brilliant golden fire of the sun crest the horizon. I'm glad you are awake. He turned... Excuse me. Gosh. He turned to lift me up against the warmth of him, pulling me deeper into the gentle current, our bodies becoming buoyant. I wanted to share the sunrise with you. Drawing my legs around his waist, I surrendered to him, as he wordlessly slipped himself inside me. We rocked against each other in the cleansing water, where the 3 rivers connected as one, our love flowing out, weightless and unearthed. There's a long break in the story now. I swear, these two. They wake up and they're like, oh, sex. That's for breakfast. No one ever goes, gosh, I could eat something. You hungry? You want some coffee? That never happens. What's wrong with that? Nothing. I just think it's funny. Breakfast of champions. That's right. From India, we headed west into the heart of Africa. With its swollen, torpid river, the color of chocolate snaking through the tropical undergrowth of the Congo, we traveled to the rich savannas of Tanzania, teeming with wildlife, which hid among the whispering gold of the waving grass, with the delicate arched canopy of the baobab trees, standing like silent observers against the sun-bleached sky. August had the keen ability to decipher a giver, a subtle ripple within their energy. Some of the people throughout Africa had chosen to mark themselves, a single red dot hidden behind the nape of their behind the nape of hair on the back of their neck. It stood out like a beacon against the beautiful rich color of their skin. Since our night on the ship with Marie, that's right, that's who the third person was, Marie, we had begun to prefer the sharing of an embrace, and there seemed to be no shortage of eager participants. It was a high that always left us feverish afterwards, consuming us with an insatiable hunger for each other. Just FYI, I type very brazen stuff in here and elsewhere, but I assure you I'm blushing like a traffic light. I have no doubts. Blush away, go stop traffic, it's fine. We lay together on the soft sand. Beads of perspiration trickled down the flush of my skin, while the sky shimmered in waves above us. I'm lost, what are we talking about? The sound of the colobus monkeys filled my ears as they called out to each other from across the jungle beyond our camp. The day was fading to a rich dusk as the Tanzanian sun dropped its heavy warmth below the savannah. August lazily traced the rivulets of sweat down my chest with his finger. How many languages do you know, Jennifer? Seriously. Sausage and tacos for breakfast. Ha mogion od. What? Oh, this is Gaelic. I whispered in his ear. Oh wait, that was her. Ha mogion od. Which I'm probably not saying right, but that's fine. He raised his eyebrows at me. I did not know you spoke Gaelic. I smiled, reaching up to brush a lock of hair away from his brow. It was my mother who taught me. In that moment, a sudden silence swept over the savannah. The monkeys had stopped their incessant chatters in the trees, and the hush that overcame the jungle left.
Is it hot in here? Are you hot? I mean, you are hot.
That overcame the jungle left me with an eerie chill. I sat up to look around when I noticed a large shape moving towards us from the tall grass. August? I tried to keep my voice level and calm as the lioness slowly approached. There was a look of hunger within her eyes as she began to close in on the space between us. Crouching low, her powerful muscles rippled like water. Jezebel, do not move. His voice was firm as he stood and began to walk carefully toward the lioness. What are you doing? Stop! Panic washed over me. He advanced closer. I could hear the deep, throaty rumble of the animal as August knelt upon the ground to meet her eyes. They were close enough that, if he were to reach his hand out, he could have touched the tawny coat. Jezebel, it is okay. August's soothing voice wrapped around my thoughts like liquid. Seconds passed, my heart hammering in my ears. I watched her tail flick back and forth, and then suddenly appeared to relax, sitting back upon her haunches while August continued to gaze into the wild amber eyes. Then the lioness stood, glancing at me once before trotting away and disappearing into the grass once more. I sat there transfixed as August returned to our blankets, calmly sitting beside me. What just happened? My voice trembled. I asked her to leave. How? Hypnosis. He looked at me with a steady gaze as my heart rate began to slip back into its normal rhythm. I stared at him in disbelief, watching as a small smile crept over his face. You were not aware that your powers of hypnosis stretched beyond humans. No, I was not. I wish I had that power with my dog. Time to go potty. Let's go. No, don't run away. We're going outside. Anyway, different topic. I glanced toward the sea of copper and gold, listening to the gentle rustle of the savannah which stretched out before me, endless and filled with the breath of life. August settled back down beside me. We are connected to everything around us, and there was a time long ago that humans lived in balance with these creatures as equals. They were each... Yeah, please stop barking. They were each other's teacher, and they spoke the same language. But fear took hold, disconnecting them from one another, and therefore from the earth itself. August gestured to the waving grass. That lion was only doing what she had been taught to do. And had an N? What? Purple, you lost me. Oh, for a sec, I thought you said something else that wasn't dog. And had an N? Yep, I don't know. I got nothing. It's probably very obvious and I just can't see it. And I lost my place. There we go. Dog with an N. We'll all think about it. Dawn? Nog? I still don't know. It has gone way over my head. Whatever it is, I didn't catch it. I didn't even know you threw it. I didn't pick it up. I got nothing. Stump Mama's mama obviously figured it out. She's telling me to think about it. And now I feel dumber. Yeah. It's fine. Placement of the N. Yeah, I'm lost too, so I'm thinking this is before I came along. Oh, dong. Okay. Got it. I thought you were replacing a letter with the letter N, which is why I was like, huh? What's a nog? What is a nog? And why does it need to go outside? Dog with an N. Yes, okay. Yeah, you know what? It's fine. Where were we? Eggnog. Right. Eggnog's gross, by the way. Ugh. Moving on. Getting me all distracted. When I took the elixir, you spoke of this. how humans live in disconnect and fear. I gazed out to the horizon, which danced with vibrancy, the earth spilling her majestic watercolors across the sky. Eggnog is delicious. Psh. I just don't see how we can help them. August rested his hand against mine. It is not our job to help them. It is our job to offer the tools that will enable them to reconnect with themselves, to live to their fullest potential. I looked up into his eyes, full of so much love that spilled out and bathed me in all its enormity. Smoothing back my hair, he placed a kiss on my forehead. And we have been given the precious gift of time. Our job is to take that gift and live as boldly and honestly as possible. When we do eventually relinquish this body, it is only a short journey back home. Hey Darth, what's up? We sat in silence for a moment, watching as the last glimmer of the day sunk below the horizon, until all that was left was the endless blue ink of the sky scattered with stars. You know, Jezebel, you have taught me so much. I looked over at him, his face obscured by shadows. I have? Yes. I have spent hundreds of years devouring knowledge, hoping to be a guide for those seeking answers. But in all that time, the knowledge of the heart eluded me. August found my hand in the darkness, squeezing tight. Until I met you. You have opened a place within me I had been unable to reach before. You have taught me how to love. You have never loved? He shook his head. Not like this, Jezebel. I leaned into him as his arms encircled me, his voice a silky whisper between us as his lips brushed against my hair. You have opened up my soul, giving me the greatest gift one could ever ask for. His words slipped into my heart, solidifying my own fervent devotion. Our journey had only just begun, and I was filled with elation at the thought of what was to come. Okay, we have another break in the story. A longer break this time. I guess they're not hanging out in the jungle too long. Or whatever. They're not technically in the jungle, but there were monkeys. Time blended into weeks, which became months, spinning a luxuriant tapestry of culture and sights that enriched my senses. From Tanzania, we traveled north into Egypt, where the mesmerizing pyramids towered above us, their legends as old as the desert itself, whispering truths within the entombed walls. Next, August is going to tell Jezebel that one of the mummies was a friend of his at one point. We journeyed to Morocco, with its clay-baked buildings carved from the earth, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. It was there that we boarded August's ship, and I settled back into the undulant sway as we sailed across the Atlantic to the dense jungles of South America, and into Peru, the land of the Incas. Settling for a time in the Cuzco, a small town nestled among the impressive mountain ranges of the Andes, we immersed ourselves in the rich landscape of the people who live there. With their large, joyful smiles and colorful clothing, we felt surrounded by an energy teeming with an abundance of spirit. We decided to spend a few nights up in the mountains. The locals had told us about a sacred abandoned temple by the name of Machu Picchu. Not Pikachu, Pichu. And its veiled mysteries beckoned to us from above. Guided by a village goat farmer, we were silently led up a steep trail through the lush undergrowth. Bidding us farewell at the entrance, he promised he would return to take us back down in 2 days' time. Walking among the sprawling edifices of stone, we marveled in the feeling of ancient power that seemed to emanate from the ground beneath us. I wonder what happened to these people, I said to August as I sat and leaned against a wall warmed by the sun, the sky stretching above us like an endless blue ocean. I suppose the same thing that will happen to everything around us, Jezebel. I looked up at him in confusion. What do you mean? August gazed out into the distance of the emerald peaks, his hands thrust deep within his pockets as the wind picked up and flirted with his hair. Countries, cities, towns. They all have a beating heart with a life expectancy. Some will end by ravages of war, others by disease. But most will end because the purpose of its existence is no longer being honored. He turned to me with a look of sorrow etched across his face. Sometimes, when I look on to the future, I see a world largely consumed by greed and disassociation. Humans so engulfed in their own discontent that they destroy the very thing that sustains them. Ah, he's talking about climate change. Yep. That's gotta be it. I rose and went over to August, wrapping my arms around him. I rested my head against his chest. Is that what you fear will become of the world? He shook his head as his fingers reached up to run through the strands of my hair. That is the thing about the future, Jezebel. It is not yet formed. It is only a path chosen. I can only hope that when the time comes, people will choose to forge a new one. Well, I don't want to burst your bubble there, August, but we now have 2-day shipping on everything, so things were very different in life when 2-day shipping wasn't an option. Just saying. There's a small break in the story here. Time has moved on, but only a little bit of time. That evening, we lay beneath the night sky, watching the stars stretch out in a brilliant magnitude above us. The locals believed that the stars were the spirits of their ancestors, keeping vigil over the ancient sleeping city, hidden among the jungle. August. I leaned up against his chest, the light of our fire sending shadows dancing across our camp. He trailed his hand lazily along my arm. Yes, my love. I tipped my head back and found the deep blue of his gaze. Eyes I knew I would never grow tired of looking into. I want to make a home with you. Here? He asked, smiling down at me. I shook my head. It's beautiful here, but no. I long to be somewhere by the ocean. Uh-huh. That's why they're coming to America. I closed my eyes and brought up the image that had been following me. A stormy coast, rough seas that battered rocks, and endless expanse of turbulent beauty that called to me with a wild urgency. Though I was enjoying my nomadic journey with August, our travels together like a fragrant dream, I had been a nomad all my life, and I yearned for a place to unpack my bags. A silence settled over us before August spoke. There is a new settlement off the coast of the North Atlantic Ocean. The English have established a colony there, fleeing from religious persecution. I have heard that it is a land unfettered and free. Excitement rose within me, and I turned to him, straddling his lap and running my hands down his chest. I want to go there. He pulled me close to him, pressing his lips against my neck, his breath warm on the chill of my skin. I will go anywhere with you, Jezebel. Another short break. I traveled that night, the first occurrence since the gathering. I lay beneath August, the heat of our bodies radiating off the canvas cloth of our tent as he plunged himself into me. The tingling began just as I slipped into the abyss of our shared pleasure. August, it's happening. I gripped his arms as the rush overcame me and a familiar darkness descended upon my vision. Well, at least she could tell him this time. That's, improvement. Control. Because we have another short break. I was in the field once more, the purple sky above me like spilled paint. Beside me stood a girl with raven hair that fell past her shoulders, her eyes swimming with an intensity I was unaccustomed to seeing in one so young. She turned to me, the dark pool of her gaze piercing into my depths. Saint Catherine of Alexandria, you have come to me. Her voice was full of reverence as she fell at my feet, her arms wrapping around my legs in supplication. I bent down, placing my hand gently upon her head. No, I am not a saint. I am only a traveler. She looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. But you must be her. I smiled softly, taking her hands and pulling her to her feet. What troubles you? The girl furrowed her brow, glancing off into the direction of the forest. There are many things I must do in this life. Voices that speak to me. I settled myself in the grass, motioning for her to join me. And tell me, what do these voices say? I must help King Charles. The English are dominating France. There was something familiar about the words she spoke, sparking a vague memory of reading through old dusty books of history pilfered from the orphanage library as a child. My mind grappled with the realization that I had somehow managed to travel back in time. I looked at this young girl with her fists clenched tightly in her lap. Full of so much fervor, it radiated off her with a heavy force. She appeared to be a haunted soul, with thoughts that chased her relentlessly through the tangled brush of her mind. Voices like claws reaching out with a strength I knew would propel her somewhere vast and unknown. I wish I was a boy, so I could fight alongside my king. I rested my hand on her shoulder as a warmth hummed in my chest, forming thoughts which split from my lips like foreign incantations, unrestrained and filled with a power much larger than myself. You must go to your king and give to him your support. She turned to me, her dark eyes wide with wonder. Go to my king? And what would I say? I smiled warmly at her, delicately brushing my hand against her cheek. You will know what you must do when the time comes, for you have a fire inside you. I took her hands and clasped them tightly as the words continued to flow from me, untethered and of their own volition. This tremendous strength that lays within you, it is your shield, your blade, and your compass. You must allow this to guide you and others through adversity. For when one lives by the power of their own fortitude, one will never lose a battle. Why does this sound like a movie I've seen? Where the woman puts on the armor and embraces battle. I just cannot think of what it is. I can see the image in my mind. Joan of Arc, yeah. So I've thrown a few historical figures into these chapters, wondering if anyone caught that. I was catching that. Yep. I could see it in my head. The name was just like right there. Just couldn't get it. As I spoke, my body began its subtle shift once more, drawing me back to the place from which I came. I believe it is time for me to go now. It is you. Her hands tightly gripped mine as I felt myself fade away. Saint Catherine, you have come to me. When I opened my eyes, the feel of August's breath upon my skin was an anchor as he cradled me against his chest, his voice coiling within my mind like a warm breeze. Welcome back, Jezebel. And that's chapter 12. Catherine the Great. I'm not familiar with that one. Oh, the Mahatma? Yeah, that one doesn't ring a bell for me either. I mean, I figured it wasn't just like a character you just made up, but I didn't realize it would have, a historical attachment. Those are cool. Spinning Hearts purple. Where are those from? Cell 9 heart. That's fun. Yeah, I did not get that one either. That one eluded me. Sal's good friend I met through Manja. You were alluding to Gandhi. So I'm just sending a quick message. Same purple just as soon as I can afford it. It's going on my shelf. What is... Oh, this book is so good. I'm definitely going to get it. Yeah, it's good. It is good. She's hilarious, but she is Polynesian, I believe. So it's hard to catch a stream. Yeah. She's got the Mulder and Scully emotes. That's funny. It was a bit vague, but I threw in one of his quotes during their marriage ceremony. I can't say I'm too familiar with Gandhi's famous words either, unfortunately. But I'm sure there's definitely going to be people out there that are going to be like, wait, Gandhi said that. Just not I. All right, folks, we are going to read one more chapter before the night's done, which is, of course, chapter 13. Once we get through this chapter, that will have made 6 tonight. Pretty good number, actually. And then we'll pick it up again in a week, because as a reminder, on Thursday, I will not be streaming. I won't even be home. I will be out of town. So, I don't mind going a little bit extra to get this one in. So yeah, we'll do one more chapter for tonight, and then we'll come back to it in a week. Okay? Okay. Good stuff. Alright. Here we go. Actually, let me take a sip first. Can't let the mouth get too dry. Force a hydrate. Thank you. One more if we must. Yeah, okay. I mean, you know, don't twist my arm about it or anything. It's fine. Exactly. My Thursday is going to be so boring. Okay. You'll find something to do, I'm sure. Alright. Chapter 13. This is page 193. Here we go. We stood on the deck of August's ship and watched the faint outline of the approaching landmass. Jennifer, what's that for? Our new home, August said, sliding his arms around me from behind as I took in the rocky, wind-battered coastline, reminiscent of my dreams. We docked in Massachusetts Bay. Simple structures made of pine and oak dotted the land, with the sound of hammering and wooden carts creaking past. I almost said wooden cats, which would be a bit weird. Just sending Kay some empathy. Well, I think she'll be alright. It's very kind of you. Women in bleached white caps and grey-colored cloaks walked among the muddy, rutted streets, baskets in hand and children at their feet. It was mid-spring, and the flowers of the dogwood trees bloomed along the outskirts of the settlement, a startling white against the blue of the sky. The energy teemed with possibilities, an endless vitality that only the breath of freedom could bring. Small break. I should really remember to say short break, because it's not a small break. It's not a size chart. It's time. It's a short break. Okay. Good talk. Thank you. The next day, we traversed the terrain on 2 gentle horses, guiding us deep into the hills as we sought a place with flat land and a view of the ocean on which to build our home. The locals had warned us of the natives' savage beasts, they called them, who would skin you in the night while you slept. but we knew the words they spoke were only the masks of fear and ignorance. And I longed to meet the people of this land, with their reverence and song, like steady drumbeats among the forest calling to me. Thank you, Jennifer. I'll just fill the time with my other book boyfriend, Killian. There you go. Most of the places we surveyed were too densely populated with trees, and though I loved the forest, I yearned for space and light. The day began to dwindle as the sun hugged the tree line, and we still had not found what we were looking for. As we turned to make it back down to the village, I spotted a reflection of light glinting off a crop of rocks in the distance. Beyond the trees lay a cliff shrouded in mist, where a steep incline rose to a vast level surface. We stood together on the flat expanse of rock, surrounded by the sea. "This is it, August." My words spilled out breathless as I took in the expansive view. I came up behind him, wrapping my arms around his back. "This is where I want to have a child." Oh, hold on. First you went from, "I want to have a home," and "this is where the home should be," and all of a sudden you're saying, "This is where I want to have a kid." Yeah, slow down, Jez. Calm yourself. I don't think August feels the same way, though, as what I was saying. I think he feels the opposite of what I was saying. Because he turned towards me, the look in his eyes speaking volumes as he grabbed me with intensity and pulled me to his mouth. My heart swelled, and I fell against him, breathing in his air and all the possibilities that stretched out before us. She's just really excited. Yeah, she is. I'm surprised they haven't gotten pregnant already. I mean, come on. Short break in the story. See, I did it right that time. The next morning, we set off to find the native tribe by the name of Wampanoag, following a roughly drawn map of their village that had been given to us by a man who was known to trade with them. We wanted to establish a relationship with the tribe and to request permission to build on the site we had found. Knowing these people were the caretakers of this land, we did not want to encroach upon a sacred place. Thin trails of smoke curling through the trees alerted us that we had reached their village. When we approached the clearing and stepped among the round birch bark huts with various racks of skins drying beside low burning fires, a sudden silence filled the camp. Children stopped their play and ran to their mothers, burying their faces in the smooth, beaded leather of their skirts. The murmur of voices receded, and dark eyes fell sternly upon us. We had quickly learned of the history between the settlers and the natives. It had been one filled with discord and bloodshed, and it made my heart ache. The delicate dance of trust that had been broken long ago. August slid off his horse and raised his hands up in a gesture of peace. A man approached him, tall and muscular. His gaze upon August was sharp. He wore a headband adorned with a single feather that hung down over the gloss of his ebony hair, which fell long against his back. A necklace of abalone shells and smooth bone lay upon the rich caramel color of his skin. He spoke in a language that sounded like a song. August crouched down and began to draw pictures in the dirt of our journey by ship and our search for a home. The man watched August silently as the women drew closer. A hand touched my leg, and I looked down to see the smiling face of a child. her amber eyes filled with curiosity. We sat together among the... I'm gonna have to brace... Wampanoag. It just doesn't flow off my tongue properly. We sat together among the Wampanoag, communicating through touch and smile, sharing our names like gifts. The women seemed very interested in my hair, running their fingers through it and laughing. The energy of these people was full of joy, and their eyes held a deep wisdom that I had seldom seen in others. August sat beside the man whose name was Nanumpum. Yep, and drew a picture of the cliff we had found. The man shook his head, indicating that it had no meaning for him. August then sketched a house on top, and looked up to Nanumpum, who smiled and nodded, resting his hand upon his shoulder. Translating to, yes, you build house. Get out of my village. Kind stranger. All right. We have a longer break in the story now. The months passed in a flurry of work. Days spent building our home, the consistent rhythmic tone of hammer against nail, working beside the hired help as the cool warmth of spring gave way to the blistering heat of summer. Nights were spent on the ship docked among the harbor, nestled in the quiet sway of the cabin. We met a woman named Opal, a widow who had lost her 2 children to sickness on the journey over. She would come to us once a week, wearing the look of someone who had relinquished her life, and while we could not help her regain her spark, we could ease her suffering. When the shadows of dusk fell, she would steal into the ship with her dull eyes and pale skin that was so cold to the touch, silently awaiting our embrace like the dark pole of an opium dream. I began to travel more frequently, and no longer did my traveling seem to rely on a heightened state of arousal. August believed I had begun to harness it better, though I still had no control over when it occurred. The people I visited all had something in common. They were lost and filled with pain, and I was only a vessel, for the words I shared with them were not my own. You are giving the gift of healing, Jezebel. We lay entwined among the bed together, with the gentle rocking of the ship beneath us. August ran his hands along my palms, softly kneading the flesh with his thumbs, which had grown sore and calloused from the months of our labor. You may not think you are helping these people, but I believe you are, on a very deep and profound level that may be beyond our understanding. I really hope so. I pulled August on top of me, feeling the weight of him against my body, comforting, solid and consistent. I ran my finger through his hair, bathing in the warmth of his eyes. I want nothing more than to have these travels of mine serve a larger purpose in some way. We have another longer break in the story. Our breath now hung in the air like smoke as the icy grip of fall began to cling to the mornings, coating the crisp leaves in the whisper of winter. Our house was nearly finished. Upon opening the front door, I stepped inside a small mudroom, a set of stairs on the left, and a room beckoning to the right. As I walked down the hallway, my steps echoed off the polished wood, leading me into a large living room with a brilliant light that spilled from the windows, the view of the ocean stretching out for miles. A large hearth stood in the center, while off to the side lay a dining room that spilled into a kitchen where the warmth of a burning stove glowed brightly, keeping a kettle warm for tea. Upstairs was our room, a single, expansive space with windows that hugged the floor and double doors leading out to a porch that wrapped around the house, surrounding Juan in the endless view. Sounds like a pretty good home to me. It was there that I stood, feeling the wind play with my hair, my hand resting over my belly, for deep within, I now carried life, the sweet and beautiful promise of a child. The sound of August's footsteps broke my thoughts as he encircled me from behind, running his hands slowly along the swell of my stomach, his breath upon my neck, stirring the embers inside me. I closed my eyes and leaned against him. I cannot wait to make this our home. We can make it our home today if you would like, August murmured against my neck, his lips teasing the skin. I turned to look at him as a sensual smile stretched across his face, his eyes harmonizing with the color of the surrounding sea. Our bed has arrived. It is waiting for us down by the dock. The rest of the shipment will be here next week. Where did he order a bed? Just curious. How does that work back then? He ran his finger down my neck, his hand grazing the soft rise of my swollen breasts that peeked out from beneath my dress. The Sears catalog. Just before Sears went out of business. My nipples responded to his touch, eagerly pressing against the fabric as he took me in with a look that made me weak with longing. But all we really need is a bed, Jezebel. Definitely not 2-day shipping, no. Although it did come by ship, so... Anyway, another short break in the story. 2 months easy, yes. Now with 2 months shipping. The waves crashed against the rocks below us, the soothing sound filtering in through the windows as the soft glow of the flickering lamps surrounded the bed in our new home, reminding me of our wedding ceremony on the banks of the river in India. I stood above August as he reclined upon the sheets, naked and erect, watching me with a languid hunger as I slipped my robe down below my shoulders and let it fall to the floor, my body aching and heavy as I moved to him. Jezebel. His hands slid up past my thighs and cupped his palms against the slope of my belly as his words crept in and softly caressed my thoughts. You are so beautiful, it hurts sometimes. His eyes were filled with marvel as he pressed his mouth against my skin. I trembled beneath his kiss as his lips drew a lazy path from my navel down to my sex, his tongue lightly teasing my bud. My fingers gripped his hair, pressing him hard against me, my body demanding more as my pleasure surged against him. Just before I was about to lose myself, he pulled away with a provocative smile, guided me down to my hands and knees upon the bed. My nipples ached against the fabric of the pillows as he ran the length of himself down the small of my back and hovered below my sex, gently pressing against me. I hungrily pushed myself closer to him, eager to feel him inside me. The frenzy grew within as he lightly stroked himself against my swollen center, tormenting me with my own desire. August's breath fell labored against me, seeming to relish this slow tease as his hands brushed across my skin, drawing out the pleasure in languid strokes that caused my entire body to tremble. "August, please," I whimpered, a low growl spilling out of me as I clawed at the sheets, begging him. "Please, what?" August gently flipped me over onto my back, a mischievous glint in his eye as he spread my legs and ran his thumb along my throbbing center. "What is it that you want, my dear?" I reached for him frantically, digging my nails into his arms. "Enough," I gasped. "Stop torturing me." He chuckled, pulling away with a smile, and took my hand, guiding it to where I lay wet and eager. His voice was a deep rasp. "I want to watch you let go first." I moaned in relief as I began to touch myself, fast and feverish as August watched me. His gaze filled with a hungry fire as I cried out to him, lost to the pulse of my own climax. "You are heaven to me, Jezebel." His voice was a low hiss as he ran his hands lightly along my inner thighs, a look of violent lust in his eyes as I lay there, burning for him. He moved down to trace his tongue slowly against my tender folds, tasting the remnants of my release. "August." My words spilled out in a whispered plea as I desperately writhed beneath him. "I need to feel you inside me now." He gently pulled me to the edge of the bed, his eyes piercing into my depths as he finally slipped himself inside with a loud groan, the powerful essence of him merging with mine. I frantically grabbed onto him, pulling him closer as a bliss so raw ruptured within, taking me to that sacred place we shared together. "God, how you annihilate me." August moaned deeply into my ear as another strong wave of pleasure coursed through every fiber of my being, matching the sudden speed of his own. His cries tangled in my hair as he spilled himself into me, reverent and full of so much light.